is Star Trek Lower Decks, Season 1, Episode 7, Much Ado About Boimler. We have our usual cast of lovable reprobates, Brad Boimler, Divana Tendi, Beckett Mariner, and Sam Rutherford. And our secondary crew members, well, these guys may not be in this episode, but that's spoilers for a little later. My summary goes thusly. An unfortunate transporter accident sends Boimler off with the mysterious Division 14, along with Tendi and her beloved pet. Meanwhile, Mariner meets an old friend who's there to temporarily take command of the Cerritos, while captain and command crew run a black op. We open with an extended shot of the Cerritos before cutting back to the bunks where Boimler and Mariner, along with Rutherford, are tired from a long day's work and want to sleep. Like most people in their 30s, after any day on the job, they just want to crash. But their plan for sleep goes up in smoke when the ever-peppy Tendi crashes their slumber party. And I would be super effing annoyed if this was me. You can see Mariner in the animation, she is really annoyed. But yeah, that would be me. So annoyed. She has made a dog using spare inert carbon. And isn't that a horrifying example of future tech? Though saying that, I potentially would have made power armor myself, but that's just me. But imagine being able to craft yourself a living, breathing creature to your specifications. It is both amazing and truly horrifying. She has made a dog, but with the caveat she's made it 5% faster and 6% smarter, and hand edited all 6 billion sequences. She is a very, very proud girl, and she's also very proud that the DNA had accepted the Cas9 snipping without any cellular degradation. That was some fine technobabble, and Star Trek does have some amazing technobabble, so that's right up there with the best. Rutherford isn't impressed, as she could have made any animal, yet chose a plain old Earth dog. And the reason? Well, they don't have dogs on Orion. And then the nightmare began, as this genetic abomination went full John Carpenter, as Mariner goes to bed, only interested if it turns into something she should worry about. What the hell hath science wrought? We return to an external shot of the Cerritos after the titles, as Ransom narrates a commander's log. Apparently, he is part of an elite team made up of the command officers and are going on a black op for the Persepian agricultural colony. It's in disputed territory, and they are chosen because of their expertise in the germination of roulotte seeds. Really? The black spy singlets that they break out, reminiscent of the similar episode from TNG. Full spy suits, and they're going for what looks and sounds like a generic agricultural mission. That the only reason it's a black op is because it's in disputed territory. Can you imagine that? We're sending in SEAL Team 6 because these farmers need plows. We cut to Mariner having a paddy over how lame acting captains are, mainly because she believes that they are all incompetent. And I don't know about that. Jericho was cool, even if Riker was being an insubordinate arse to him, Jellicoe made positive changes to the Enterprise. She complains that they are boring as a bog planet, and they are going to visit in this episode. And I don't know about you, but I agree with Boimler here. Bogs and swamps are fascinating. They have such immense biodiversity. It's brilliant stuff. Tendy's abomination dog passes, then turns into a metal cube and still somehow walks away. Just going to leave that there. Going to leave that entire kettle of fish alone. Like Boimler's so used to this, he's not even blinking. Boimler is also excited to meet with the new captain, and Mariner, rightfully so, calls him out on his BS because he just wants to kiss a whole new ass, which he absolutely confirms. At least he's being honest about it. That's our boy Boimler. We cut to Rutherford. He is making something, and he adds a pink isolinear chip to a pod-looking device that, if any of you have ever seen The Fly, you'd be very, very reminiscent of those. Rutherford is busy, so in bursts Boimler, excited about the new crew arriving. And I just assumed at the time it was just they were getting a new captain coming in, and the regulars who take over from when the commander and command crew are away would be taking over the ship. But no, apparently they're having an entirely new command crew arrive. Boimler's in a bit of a tizzy over his hair, but Rutherford is too busy to pay attention. He's building a transporter that goes 0.07 seconds faster, but has no one to test it on after Mariner, the daredevil, refused. Smart. A lot of accidents happen with transporters. We see a lot of that in Star Trek. There barely seems to be a season that goes by that doesn't have some form of transporter accident, even in TOS. I would only ever use one if it's emergency. I would be proud to be a shuttle boy in that universe. Boimler, though, jumps at the chance to have this little assist on his resume. And I'm like, dude, just lie like everyone else does. Like, who really knows Zimbabwean languages? Just put it on your resume, make you sound more intelligent, dude. And he goes, Boim me up. And Boim me up should be this series version of Beam Me Up, Scotty. Because we always get that with Star Trek. It's like, oh, beam me up, Scotty. But no, this should be Boim me up. The entire animated universe they're building here should all be Boim me up. But the boiming does not go without issue. He's off phase by 1 millicochrane, making Boims do a good imitation of Dr. Manhattan, though fully clothed and less annoying, and I will never forgive him for the new 52. The light show isn't all that bad, but the noise is near deafening. He panics as we cut to the bridge. Mariner is looking super bored when the new crew arrive. A Vulcan, a Trill, and an unknown species. I'm not really sure what that guy is. But as she braces for underwhelmment, she is greeted by an old friend from the Academy, Captain Amina. The two hug and have a great meeting. But when she expresses surprise at Mariner being an ensign still, well, the Vulcan does anyway, because they were told such stories about her, I would love to hear her talk and explain why she's become an ensign or why she's still an ensign. Boimler arrives, making a spectacle of himself, as Boimler is wont to do. Though this time, it is not intentionally. The captain orders him immediately to go to sickbay. Good call. Not just the noise, but there may be something seriously wrong with him medically, and he needs to get checked out, especially when you're working with experimental transporter technology. That's a one-up for her. Most captains just ignore that kind of thing. We cut to the sickbay as T'Ana runs some tests when our boy and our science bro Rutherford stops the noise. which was probably the worst part. Can you imagine having to deal with that kind of deafening, whirring noise sound all day, every day? I don't know how their transporter chiefs operate it without going crazy because of that whirring noise. Bones is worried that no one would want a sparkly cabin, which is, possible. But Anna tells him that she has notified Division 14, which Boymes thinks is the Time Corps, but D14 helps to solve unsolvable scientific illnesses and mysteries. And I wonder if these guys are helping out with the Vidian genophage, even if they can't get back to the Delta Quadrant at that point. You gotta think that's gotta be an interesting thought exercise for them. Those of you who don't know, Star Trek Voyager Season 1, not a great season, but, better than most Star Trek we have now. Apparently, they have a medical spa on Endochrominus 5, which everyone just calls the farm. And that doesn't sound sinister at all, does it? And they are sending Tendy's abomination there too. The abomination she effectively and affectionately calls the dog. She made a biological abomination, spending time changing 6 billion genetic sequences, but gives it the most unimaginative name ever. Who does she think she is, Geralt of Rivia? And Tendy misses the abomination's eyes popping out and flying away on bat wings. So, Rutherford is wrong. She does not know a lot about DNA or dogs. We cut to the captain's ready room, where she and Mariner are having a blast as she tries and fails to do a captain's log. They break into some girl talk before Amina asks her to be her 2IC, or second in command, and they hug, but Mariner seems a little bit afraid. Very good characterization here, good humanization of Mariner and Amina, and showing some vulnerability for Mariner. Love it. Just expanding this character all shapes. We cut to an external shot of a ship heading for the Cerritos. We get some dark and foreboding music as, surprisingly, an NS classification ship approaches. NX 75300 USS Osler. Wicked design, not very Federation-like, looks a lot more Klingon, or maybe Federation don't really do sources all the time, and most of the ships we see are sources. I don't know, but this is very Klingon-looking ship, like a 22nd Enterprise era sort of D4, D5 looking ship. We meet the 3-armed Edosian medical specialist of D14, and they address reminiscent of plague doctors, minus the beaked masks. Everything here seems shady. There is no putting people at ease here at all. As the bulkhead closes, the large Edosian laughs menacingly. And I don't know about you, but that will put me right at ease. A giant 3-armed creature laughing like a villain from a 50s cinema, like a old school 50s film serial. Whew. We cut back to the Cerritos as Amina is partway through her Borg story as she and her team put on waders. It doesn't go well as Mariner's stories alienate her from the command crew that Amina's bought. Mariner's mission goes wrong as she forgets a piece of tech, forcing them to get creative in solving the mission, something that the Vulcan rubs in her face in a quite mean-spirited way. Unnecessary and also out of character for a Vulcan. This one may need watching. We cut back to the Cerritos Bridge. Captain Freeman is getting an update after completing the mission. Mariner again makes a hash out of it, a simple task, and Mariner recognizes that she's nervous and lends a hand. Good friendship here, and a very good character development for Amina. I hope we see more of her. She seems like a really chill character. We cut to the foreboding Osler as Boimler, Tendy, and the dog introduce themselves to the rest of the freaks and a conspiracy theorist that appears to be both a baby and an old man. And the voice acting skills here are brilliant. He's going from an old grizzled voice to a young innocent voice in like seconds. It is absolutely brilliant. I'm loving this. The decrepit rascal introduces the Freak Squad while sporting some serious anti-Starfleet sentiment. Can't say I blame him if what he's talking about is true. We even see a Warp 10 amphibian. Bit of an unnecessary deep dive that goes for the... And they also go for the TOS Pike chair thing as well. Like, I understand that this series, there's a lot of like callbacks to other series, but you'd think by that day and age, the Pike Hospital life support system thing would be like an iron lung now. Really rare. The decrepit rascal reveals that they have been on the Osler for months and that he says there is no spa and that the Osler is the farm. Cue lightning, and this could be a Halloween episode with its over-the-top drama reminiscent of a Hammer horror film. We cut back to the Cerritos as it drops out of warp to meet the Rubidoo, only to find the ship a derelict. And this happens in like 30% of all rendezvous in sci-fi. If you see a sci-fi series and they go to meet someone and that ship is intact, they are one of the few. Amina laments that Dayton should have replaced her energy coils a month ago. Apparently, this has happened before, and that didn't trigger a review? Seriously? This is basic dereliction of duty right there on the screen for everyone to see. She grabs Mariner and the two of her, and her command trio, and get ready to give the other Cali class a jump start, like they're a broken down Prius or something. We cut to the Ruby's bridge as the team beam into it and dematerialize in the zero-G environment, floating in midair. Why midair? What if the gravity was intermittent and flicked on? It seems like an unnecessary risk. We find that the power has been shut off on purpose at engineering. They decide to split up, Mariner going with Amina, and Mariner activates her gravity boots and pulls a Boimler style pratfall. Amina gets a bit frustrated with Mariner here. Is this why Mariner likes Boimler so much? Because he reminds her of herself? Perhaps we'll find out later on. We cut back to the Freak Squad as they wait for Tendi and the dog abomination to leave before discussing a mutiny and getting Boimler to join. Before we see him run off and inform on the mutineers. Never changing who he is, even when he becomes a freak. Boimler, you are the rock that holds the Cerritos together, my man. The chief medical officer loses his shit, goes full karate chop action and storms off. Dude goes from 0 to 100 in a nanosecond. Like, that is really concerning in a medical officer. We cut back to the Ruby as Mariner is getting on Amina's last nerve. Not gonna lie, I'm Team Amina here. Mariner is seriously off today. As the two exchange some harsh words, they find a scorched and sealed door. They force it open and discover a very scared crew and a very scared captain of the Ruby, none of whom are wearing environmental suits. So the oxygen is on while the power is off. Make that make sense to me, guys. Some are openly weeping, and the captain is floating around them having an existential crisis. And how did she make captain? Seriously, we're like pushing Riker for years to get a command seat in like from season 2 Enterprise Star Trek onwards, right? In Next Generation, we are pushing Riker and pushing Riker like, oh, he's going to be past his prime by the time he becomes a captain. He's going to be too old. He's going to be da-da-da-da. Like, and this idiot is a captain. What the hell? Why were they pushing him so hard if someone like this can become a captain so easily? As the captain levies a dire warning about the entity that they are currently inside, we cut back to Boimler and the mutiny, as the mutineers are about to attack security and the three-armed medic arrive, telling everyone that Boimler told him about the mutiny. He then confines them all to quarters and leaves Boimler to their tender mercies. What a dick. He's leaving Boimler to be killed. Like, seriously, what is going on here? We cut back to the Ruby as the captain explains that the entity feeds on electricity. But when Amina tries to warn her team, communications are strangely garbled, and the plot has entered the chat. They activate the engines, and the ship begins to pull itself apart as the entity is in the walls, and that is pretty cool. It's action time as Mariner and Amina rush to save the remains of the Ruby's crew as the entity begins to erupt from within the ship. Awesome teamwork here. Amina theorizes as they run that the creature is interfering with comms. Nice save there, explaining the interference. Usually they don't even bother to do that. The captain loses her shit again, like the general in Starship Troopers, before Mariner performs percussive maintenance, knocking her the fuck out. Take Charge Mariner is back, and then it clicks for Amina and everybody else. Mariner has been taking a dive on purpose to stay on the Cerritos. The two have a heart-to-heart, Amina wanting her friend to get on with her career and get it back on track, and Mariner not wanting to leave the Cerritos. It's a good character moment for her, and this episode really drives that home. So we make a deal with Amina to stop trying to recruit Mariner, and Mariner stop being a pretend fuck-up so they can save the Ruby's crew. Excellent. Here we see an excellent action without sacrificing the story, and added character development on top. Oof. These writers are really getting into their own stride here. We cut back to Boimler running for his life as the Freak Squad is looking to kill him. They corner him in an airlock, and as his condition undoes itself, they open the airlock as he begs for his life. This is dark AF, and where the hell is Tendi? Like, was she just vanished? What the heck, man? He falls out the airlock into idyllic scenes of the farm, and we are brushing right past the attempted murder. Three Arms is back, and the decrepit rascal apologizes, and the medical officer repeats Boimler's previous point about talking out the issue. He also considers making the ship more friendly, and yet we are brushing right past that attempted murder. We cut to the paradise that is the farm, and Tendi returns to bid farewell to the dog, and the abomination talks. Of course it does. Like when she makes an abomination, she makes an abomination. It also flies, and as it takes off, Boimler arrives, telling her what dogs are really like, and only then does she realize that the dog belongs with the freaks. The dog even acknowledges that as she does so. Seriously, did she not do any research on dogs? She's supposed to be a scientist, and a medical scientist at that. Surely she should have done some research. Boimler looks like he's about to get lucky when the decrepit rascal arrives and ruins it for him, because he's a dick. And I would report this guy to command and press charges. Seriously, fuck the decrepit rascal. Boimler and Tendi are put on a shuttle back to the Cerritos, and poor Boimler laments being forced to leave, and the freaks are smug about it. Seriously, report them. Attempted murder is attempted murder, and their medical conditions shouldn't preclude them from being faced with disciplinary actions. We cut back to the Ruby as they are rushing to the bridge. The two friends have reasoned that they arrived on the bridge, and it could be their best way of getting out, which is a good plan. The entity is forcing its way out of the ship, turning the corridors into obstacle courses. They barely manage to save the incompetent captain, and get to the bridge. I would have let her die. She has proven to be incompetent and derelict in her duty. Just let her die. She could be fondly remembered as someone not incompetent. Thinking quickly, Mariner contacts Rutherford to boim them up. Just as the entity destroys the bridge, Rutherford manages to save the day. Super Science Bro for the win. The Ruby's crew is saved, and Boimlered for now. We cut to Boimler rushing into the bar, demanding that Rutherford refreak him, which he considers. Super Science Bro making his friends' dreams come true. Tendi meets a real dog, doesn't like it. Amina and Mariner share a drink, watching from a safe distance as the entity consumes the ruby. And it is a wonderful sight. Amina tells Mariner her offer still stands, and Mariner needs time to figure out what she wants, and she's going to take her time. The two get interrupted by the dick Jack Ransom, who oozes his way over and begins to try and chat up Amina, only for her to pull a Dudley Boys and throw him through a table. The two friends laugh as the entity bobbles away and the episode finishes. So, my final star rating for this episode. This is a bit of a tough one for me because while I like the character development for Mariner, I really don't like the Boimler story. So this was going to be a 2-star episode, but the Mariner story really brought it up. The character development, the background elements, the introduction of a new wing of Starfleet we've never heard of before. I like that. So this has gone from like 2.5 to 2 7/8, and I'm just rounding it up to 3. Mainly because I will probably watch this episode again and still enjoy watching this episode when I see it again. So for that, it's going to be a just 3 stars. Just 3 stars. For those of you who have made it this far in the video, I'd like to thank you. If you like my video, please leave a like, leave a comment, and please subscribe. It'll help me with the algorithm. And thank you guys for being with me with this episode of Star Trek, and I will catch you guys somewhere down that road. Catch you later, guys.